So Ryan, tell us about your life. You grew up in the Midwest and you came to Pennsylvania. What brought you to Pennsylvania?
I was born in Des Moines, Iowa, and lived there till I was 5. Then we lived in Chicago for a couple of years. But I basically grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, went to high school there. We moved to Pennsylvania because my dad transferred, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I was going to college, and I thought it's probably better to go to college on the East Coast rather than the Midwest because my family was here, and I thought when I graduate, it'll be a better place to land for me. Honestly, the reason I chose Penn State was because it was the state school and my family lived in Pennsylvania, so it made a lot of sense. So I went there and graduated with a degree in political science. I also met my wife there, so it was a good place to be. And then during college, I thought for a while that I was going to be a lawyer, which political science is a pretty good place to start if you want to go to law school. Right after my junior year in college, I did an internship at a church working in youth ministry. And after doing that, I realized that was what I really wanted to do. So I started out as a youth director. I did that for 2 years. It was a so-called part-time job that was actually full-time. Then I went from there to Princeton Seminary. And I graduated from Princeton and I was an associate pastor for 3 years. And after 3 years, actually somebody came to me and said, Ryan, it's time for you to step up and start doing something else and go into being a pastor of a church. So I started to look for a new call and I went to a church in New Jersey and I was a solo pastor there. Mm-hmm. So I did kind of everything. I was the pastor of the church, but I also was very involved in youth ministry there as well. So youth ministry's kind of been a thread that's run through a lot of my career.
You've been successful at a variety of different churches. What made you decide to come to Wayne Presbyterian when you're already at a church and you're enjoying it and you've been there a bunch of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that some of it for me was this process of coming to Wayne was different than everywhere else because every other shift I made along the way, I was really thinking about what was next. Where was I going to go? I was kind of itching to do something new and different. This call came differently. I didn't even have my resume together when I got a call and someone asked me about it. And they said, well, would you be interested in applying? And I thought, well, okay, sure. So I put my resume together and sent it in to the committee. And the whole time during this process, it was not, I have to get this job. It was really a very prayerful, discerning process where I kept saying, you know what, God, if you want me to go there, I'll take one more step. So every step along the way, and I kept saying, if they say no, or if I decide no, I think we'll all be fine because I was in a place that I was happy and it was good. I kept seeing and thinking about all the opportunity here at Wayne and all the possibilities. And the other thing is, part of my discernment process was I'd been in Ambler for almost 14 years. Wow. And one of the things that I kept thinking was, I got to a point in my time there where I realized I either had to kind of reinvent my ministry there and start over and kind of double down for another season or think about what's next. Right. And in that process and in the conversation with Wayne, it just kept becoming more and more clear that I think that God's kind of put this opportunity in front of us because it's what's next. And I'm really excited about the opportunity here at Wayne.
Tell me about Wayne so far. What have you found?
So far, Wayne's been great. People have been really wonderful, super welcoming. I've been learning a lot about Wayne's history. And one of the things I've been really thankful to learn is that here at Wayne, it's a congregation that I've noticed has been willing to take risks to try new things, to think about where God's leading us now and in the future. So that's one of the things I've been excited to learn about Wayne. Also, this congregation has been so involved in the community, not just right here in Wayne, but the broader community, and really has had a deep impact for years and years. And I'm looking forward to being part of that and also seeing where we're going to have an impact next.
How about your family? Have you settled in? How's it been for them?
It's been good. It's been a little bit, in some ways it's been easier for me than for the rest of my family because, I'm here every day and I'm meeting people and I'm pretty engaged with a lot of things. But I think everybody's getting adjusted and is happy to be here and looking forward to diving into the ministry here at Wayne.
You have some adult children, your wife. How are they seeing it? What are they doing with their time or how are they doing with the move?
Jen and I have been married for 30 years this month.
Congratulations.
So thank you. We just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. And, Jen is amazing. And she's always been very supportive of not only my ministry, but of the church. She wants to be part of the life of the church, wants to know people and have deep relationships. And then my 4 children are Caleb. He's 25 years old. He lives in Downingtown and he works in IT. My daughter Claire, she just graduated from Fordham in the spring, and she just got a job working for the PCUSA as a mission associate to the United Nations. So she lives in New York, works in New York at the United Nations almost every day. Our son Isaac lives at home with us. He is a musician. He loves nothing more than playing violin and playing guitar. He plays in the symphony here. He plays in the orchestra at University of Pennsylvania. And our youngest son, Mark, he is a sophomore at Penn College of Technology in Williamsport, and he's studying HVAC engineering. So he's training to become an HVAC tech and also designer. One question people ask me all the time, since I didn't grow up here and I grew up in Minnesota, is, am I a Philly sports fan? And the answer is yes. Now, I've lived here for 32 years, mostly, so I have a pretty deep history of Philly sports. Jen and I love to go to the movies. In Ambler, we are a member of the Ambler movie theater, and we've already decided when that runs out, we're going to become members of the Bryn Mawr Film Institute, because we love going to movies, and especially in the summer when they show classic movies on the big screen. We love to go and see the black and white films as they were meant to be seen. Also, if you go into my office, you'll see I have a personal library, so I love books, not only collecting them, but reading them. I have a certain number of poets I read. Almost every day, I read a poem a day. I started watching cooking shows on TV, and I kind of took over the cooking at home because Jen has a long commute, so I do probably 75% of the cooking at home. So I love cooking and trying new recipes and figuring out how to use different techniques in the kitchen. I always find that to be a good time too.